I'm Barry Tramel, and Rhett Bomar has been arrested. And we're reminded again of what a disappointing career Bomar is having.
Yeah, we're going to talk about where he ranks among the latest athletes around these parts and disappointment on the disappointment scale. From the Opopco studios, you're watching the Press Row. I'm Jenni Carlson. Barry, there's no doubt Rhett Bomar, one of the most highly regarded players to ever commit to Oklahoma, played quarterback for them, then he gets kicked off the team. Now in camp with the Minnesota Vikings, he's arrested over the weekend, a third-degree drunken driving charge. I can't imagine the Vikings are going to keep him around. It's just another layer of disappointment for this guy.
Well, you know, in many ways it's a tragic story. A guy this good, this talented, with this much going for him, who just sort of threw it all away. You know, Mike Gundy, after Bomar was at OU, Mike Gundy said best high school quarterback he's ever seen. Gundy's seen a lot of good quarterbacks. But Bomar threw it away in Norman. He's not going to have much of an NFL career, but this latest offense is surely going to seal his fate with the Vikings. Just a very, very sad tale. A guy who had the world by the string, starting quarterback at Oklahoma, going into his sophomore year. Great talent, and just really didn't have what I think the home training to get his house in order. A guy that was selfish, a guy that was egotistical, a guy that just didn't get it, and it's going to cost him his football career.
Yeah, and you look at the guys that were around him during his time at Oklahoma, and you can just let your mind run. He had obviously Adrian Peterson in the backfield. Adrian does get hurt, but put those guys together for an extended amount of time, for as long as Peterson was going to stick around, and who knows how good those Sooner teams could have been. So real disappointment for OU people, but it really goes beyond that now into the NFL. He had played a while with the Giants on their practice squad, picked up by the Vikings, really struggling at fourth string, and now obviously he gives the Vikings reason to cut him loose, because if you're going to have a fourth string guy, you want to make sure he's a good guy. But he obviously would be the top of the list for most disappointing, but I look at a couple of Oklahoma State receivers in the recent history of guys that we really thought could have great careers, go into the NFL. Two guys come to mind for me, Darius Bowman and Rashawn Woods. And Rashawn Woods got drafted, but is out of the league, fairly quickly. Never really made a mark. A guy that was so prolific at Oklahoma State, and then Darius Bowman, a guy that if you look at him, you thought, man, he could play in the NFL tomorrow. Never did, Barry. Those are two guys that, obviously Bomar's at the top, but you got to look at those two guys too.
Well, yeah, and a guy like Rashawn Woods, he didn't throw away his career. He just didn't make it. Got hurt. Just didn't work out for him. Guy like that you can sort of live with. I think he can live with himself. Guy like Darius Bowman, just one incident after another, just really put himself in position to fail. Same with Rhett Bomar. People have talked about what kind of quarterback Rhett Bomar would have made at Oklahoma. If he had his head straight on, he would have been one of the all-time greats. He would have been right there with the Heupels and the Whites and the Bradfords and the Landry Jones. I don't know if he'd have won a Heisman. I don't know if he'd have been a Heisman finalist, but he was going to be a fantastic quarterback. No reason to think he wouldn't have. And yet he just threw it all away. Really threw away his college career, went to Sam Houston State, got himself drafted, and been on some practice squads with the Giants and now the Vikings. But this is a classic case. It's a great tale for young people. Keep your business in order. Keep your nose clean, because Rhett Bomar shows how you get off the path. It's very difficult to get back on.
I remember the first time I met Rhett Bomar. I actually went to Texas and met him when he was still in high school. It was before signing day, when he was still a high school student in Grand Prairie, Texas. And, you hear about these guys and you hear all the recruiting hype, and, you always figure physically, guys are, they've added a few inches, they've added a few pounds, they've made them out to be better than they are. But physically, when you saw this guy, even as a high school senior, you thought, wow, he is going to be ready to play quarterback. He's going to be fantastic by the time he gets on the field. And we saw glimpses of just how good he could be. Then he ran into the trouble. Same with Darius Bowman. Just guys that when you think about, a prototype for the pro ranks, much less the college level, you just sort of think, wow, the sky's the limit for these guys. But as Barry said, you can't rely on that alone. You got to have all that other stuff going for you too. I hope athletes see that as a cautionary tale. Unfortunately, we see this happen all the time. I don't think what they're seeing is a cautionary tale, or we wouldn't keep having these examples. Hey, stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoma.